why didn't Dodge give us a hybrid? That hatchback style body could allow for a rear mounted engine. Today's video is brought to you by CarLock, the world's best vehicle tracker and alert system. With CarLock, you'll be able to track your car real time, get alerts of anything suspicious happening to your car, such as your car is starting when it shouldn't be starting, any vibrations. Also, if someone decides to unplug your car lock from your car, you'll get a notification for that too. You deserve that peace of mind, and make sure you get your car lock. I do have a discount code for you guys shown on the screen right now. Get 10% off your purchase, as well as 14 days free trial with it as well with that same discount code, man. Get your car lock. You deserve that peace of mind. Let's go ahead and get into the video. YouTube family, what is going on? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. We have not done a POV on this channel in quite some time. And you know, it's time to bring back the POV, man. You check out the car. We got the whole, you know, carbon fiber dash. Thanks out to Dyna Performance for that. But we are here, another POV, and we're gonna hop right into it, man. You see the title and you see the thumbnail. So I know everybody's been paying attention to the automotive world, and they see now that Chevy is taking their top car, their C8, and they are giving it hybrid technology. They're putting the V8 in the rear, and we putting electric motors up front, so it's going to be you know, four-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, how you want to say it. And you know, I follow a lot of people from Dodge, and a lot of Dodge owners, Mopar owners, all that type of stuff. And of course, from our end of things, we're seeing Ford, they done came out with the Ford, they came out with their new V8, which they're gonna have in 2024. We see, you know, Chevy, even though they're getting rid of the Camaro, if I'm not mistaken, they're pretty much going all in with this C8 by giving it, you know, bigger V8. And now we got hybrid technology with that, right? But meanwhile, on the Dodge side of things, speaking of Dodge, there's another Dodge over there, another Challenger. On the Dodge side of things, we don't have anything that's hybrid. We don't have no new V8s. We don't have any of that whatsoever coming in 2024. In fact, for 2024 with Dodge, we all know it's all electric. There's no hybrids. There's none of that. We got these silent cars that Dodge is moving forward with, because Dodge said performance made them do it. They said they done everything with the V8, and they can't get any more performance out of it, so they're going that route, which we know, I spoke about in the last video, that's not entirely true. But Dodge is going full electric, no hybrids, none of that, right? And I've been seeing a lot of people in the Mopar community saying, why didn't Dodge give us a hybrid? Why couldn't we have a hybrid and all that type of stuff? So I want to talk more about that, and as to why Dodge did not do a hybrid, and if they were to do a hybrid, what do they need to do to make it work? The reason Dodge can't even do a hybrid with their V8 and things like that is mainly because the whole emission stuff, the whole EPA or whatnot, right? Both Ford and Chevy, and I said this on a previous video, both Ford and Chevy, they knew what was coming down the pipeline in the future, and they positioned themselves to make sure they had a variety of cars that were fuel efficient, that were battery operated, all this type of stuff, so that way when these EPA standards got more tighter, got more stricter, that they could still, you know, have fun with their cars and whatnot, right? Like, you know, not Dodge, but Chevy and Ford, they got cars for everybody. They got, you know, already got hybrids, they already got EVs and stuff on the market prior to Dodge jumping into the game and things like that. Fortunately, unfortunately, Dodge gave us big V8s, and they only continue to give us these big V8s, and gave us no fuel efficient vehicles, no EVs and things like that. You know, Dodge did try to sell like some V6s and other vehicles like that, but they did not do well, and their whole lineup from Dodge was only 3 vehicles. You only had Charger, Challenger, Durango, that was it. Nothing fuel efficient by any of those cars whatsoever outside of the V6 and whatnot. So that was part of the issue, right? So pretty much because Dodge, like I said before, they're late to the game when it comes to fuel efficient vehicles, they really had to crack down and get rid of all their top cars, all their V8s, because, you know, they're late to the game. They did not look into the future, or they was not able to do something to kind of help out with them keeping their V8s longer. So that's part of the reason, right? Dodge couldn't, wasn't able to think far enough ahead to position themselves to keep the V8s longer and whatnot. So they pretty much just went out and said they're not going to offer any more V8s after this year. But I think there's a way, there's maybe a small window of opportunity for them to maybe bring back V8s if they do it the correct way. Now, here's a couple things that have to happen. So first thing is, these electric vehicles that they have now have to do well. They have to sell like crazy, right? They have to be able to survive on these electric vehicles, which is gonna be really tough, right? I know we're not, us with these Hemis and whatnot, we're not really happy about the electric vehicles. I'm not either. But for the fun stuff to come back in a fun way, they gotta sell. They have to do well. Now, granted, they have said multiple times that they will never sell a V8 again, things like that. Now, I will say this. Of course, they will say that because this whole 2023 last call is all positioned around the fact they will never have a V8 again. So it wouldn't make sense for them to come out and say, well, there's a chance we might sell a V8 again after they told everybody they're never going to sell it again. They would rather say they can't sell it again and then come back later and say, well, we actually have a way to do it. This is how we would do it. So what they could do here, and it's going to be maybe a few years down the line if EPA standards allow them to do so, which I know it's going to get stricter and stricter and stricter. So here's something they could do to maybe make the environmental people out there happy, right? So they don't have to produce these big V8s and things like that. They don't have to produce a big 5.7, a big 6.4 and things of that nature, or a supercharged V8. What they could do here in the future, if these electric sales go well, maybe they make enough of a profit where they can go in and develop a new V8 but smaller. Maybe it doesn't have to be a 5.7, maybe it can be a 5-liter engine, maybe it can be like a 4.5 liter V8, something small, right? There's other cars out there that have V8s that are small. They don't necessarily have to have a big V8, but things go well, they engineer a smaller V8, and this is why they need a smaller V8. And the reason Dodge would need a smaller V8 is because they're gonna have to put this smaller V8 in a position where it hasn't been before. As we know with these current cars, both the current Charger and Challenger, even though they're going away, we got the engine mounted in the front and it's a rear wheel drive car, right? Take a look at Chevy here. I know Chevy, they went from their C7, which is a front engine car with rear wheel drive, and they went to the C8. Now they did say that the C8, they moved the engine to the rear because of performance reasons. Now, honestly, that could be part of it, but that probably was not the whole picture. What Chevy was trying to do here by moving the engine to the rear is to allow themselves in the future, with this whole electrification stuff going on, is that they knew they wanted to make a hybrid, and it'll be easier to like make a hybrid with the rear mounted engine versus a front mounted engine, right? So in the muscle car world, you have to have a rear wheel drive car, right? It doesn't make sense to have a front wheel drive car if you're going to do a hybrid or something like that in the future, right? You got to put those electric motors somewhere on the other two wheels. So if you have an engine in the front and you're driving the rear wheels, you can't put electric motors in the front of the car because you already have the engine and stuff already at the front, so that wouldn't work. So the only way you can make a hybrid car with these muscle cars is having the engine in the rear to drive the rear wheels, and the hybrid motors, well, not the hybrid motors, the electric motors in the front do the front wheels. But with the current generation of Charger and Challenger, it doesn't allow you to do that. Now, I will say this, the current design of the Charger, well, not the current design, but the new Charger that is coming out next year, I think it does allow for something like this to happen, to make it rear engine mounted so you can do the electric motors up front. Now, if you paid attention to the design of that car, the car pretty much is a hatchback, right? It is a hatchback, meaning like the trunk and all this area and the cabin is one, right? So that does have a potential to maybe turn that into a rear mounted car, a rear engine mounted car, if the chassis is built for that. They may have to make changes to the chassis, of course, but if the chassis is built for that, the hatchback style body could allow for a rear mounted engine, put your electric motors up front. Now, the thing about it is, I know everyone will want to have a big engine, but if the V8s go away and come back a couple years later, people probably won't be as picky about the V8s as they would now, right? You haven't had V8s for a while and they can bring it back in that manner. Yes, it'll be kind of weird for them to have a mid-engine mounted Charger. People will probably look past it if it's the only thing that comes with a V8 at that point. Now, what they could also do is this is a totally different direction here. They could bring back the Viper, and I said this in a previous video. They could bring back the Viper, make the Viper a mid-engine car, which I know that might not appease a lot of people. Honestly, I think that would be kind of weird for them to move the engine to the rear in the Viper, but they could do that to kind of compete with the Corvette in that market, right? On the flip side of that, that will involve a lot more research and development, because they have to develop a whole new car versus doing it with the Charger that they will be coming out next year. The car's already developed. You're just making some minor tweaks to it to maybe fit the rear engine into that particular vehicle. So that's why I think doing it with the Viper will be pretty unlikely. And to be honest, realistic, they may not do any of that at all. Who says they're going to make a rear engine mounted Charger so they can bring back the V8s? I mean, it would definitely be great for them to do so, but knowing Dodge, I don't think they're going to go that far. And with these electric cars coming in, just based on the feedback I'm seeing, I don't think these electric cars are going to sell like their current cars are selling. So it's going to be unlikely that would happen. But if they were to do it and they got the opportunity to do it, that would be the best way for them to do it. Now, I also want to add this. I know Dodge, like I said, Dodge has already came out and said they're not going to do V8s again, but Dodge have been known to backtrack statements before. The Hellcat Durango is supposed to be a one-year thing. They actually brought that back again for the last year. The Demon was a one-year thing. I know that actually was a one-year thing, but they brought out the Super Stock, which is pretty much very, very, very close to a Demon that you can get without buying a Demon. I mean, the only difference between the Super Stock and a Demon is the Demon has the race gas tune in it, and you can get a Demon crate with it, but pretty much everything with the Super Stock and the Demon is pretty much identical, right? So Dodge does that sometimes renege on what they're saying. But I'm interested to hear you all's thoughts on this. Would you want to see a Charger that has a rear mounted engine V8 with hybrid technology? Would you want to see that? Granted, they never made a rear engine mounted Charger before, kind of go against everything they've done in the past, but that would be the only way they could, you know, keep the V8s alive. Would you want to see that, and would you be interested in having a car like that? Now, yeah, definitely talk to me. Let me know in the comments below. Now, if you made it this far in the video, thank you. Make sure you also subscribe to the channel, man. We want you around for the long haul. We do a lot of car related stuff on here. We talk cars, and we do car stuff, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. Always, man. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. We're catching on the next video. We're out. Cut it.